There's a study that was done by someone who's a student at Harvard, I believe, that was really interesting on mental load. And also just a few points on why it is that it usually ends up the woman with more mental load and why the man might struggle to identify it. So firstly, there was a study done by this student called Alison Daminger, and it is on the household labor, or the cognitive dimension of household labor to be specific, which is the cognitive side of the household labor.
Which is a lot of words, yep.
A lot of words, exactly. And she really interestingly divided mental load into 4 different aspects. So there's anticipating, identifying, deciding, and monitoring. So anticipating means looking ahead at what's coming. You could put the example they have in this article is the school year that's coming, looking for schools. You need to get a school for your kids. So you're like, oh, I need to get onto that. That's anticipating. That's part of the mental load. Then there is identifying, and that involves things like setting up tours to schools, or identifying what options of schools are around, or talking to your friends about what schools might be good, or thinking about your kid and what they might need in their school, that kind of thing. So you've anticipated that's coming up. I need to get onto it. Then you've identified what's around, what are the options. Then the next step is deciding. So choosing the best school for your kid. You've gone to the tours. Now you're deciding on it. You're deciding on what works for your budget. You're deciding on what works for your house. And then the 4th one is monitoring. So that is making sure all the paperwork is in. It's making sure all the school supplies are ready, all the uniforms are ready, that the child's ready for the first day. So there's 4 different steps to mental load. Looking ahead, recognizing what you need to do that, making decisions once you've recognized what needs to be done, and then also monitoring on the other side to make sure it's been done well. And so when they did this study, they looked at 35 different sets of parents specifically and tried to figure out where the tasks sat within the couple. And they found out that women were much more likely to handle the anticipating part, the first part. So flagging, this is coming up. We got to think about this. We got to think about this. And then also more likely to handle the monitoring on the other side to make sure it's been done well.
Oh, wow.
Then they said that the deciding, making the decision factor, was fairly equal between the two. So it wasn't necessarily super one-sided. They also didn't have, for some reason, the result for identifying. So the part where you're looking at what schools are good. I'm assuming that's kind of part of the deciding factor, because you're looking at this school's good and this school's good, and then you decide on the school. So that's probably more of a partnership thing. I thought that was really interesting because I think that plays out big time in our relationship. Things like doctor's appointments, or the school stuff was a big thing too, getting that stuff in, and then also making sure all the little things are done, like their applications were done, where their birth certificates are, so I can get their birth certificates on their applications. If you're talking about doctor's appointments, going on the other side of a doctor's appointment and being like, oh yeah, I need to get back to the ENT to get into them, get their grommets checked, and that's a year from now, so I got to make sure I'm doing that. And then whenever they complain of a sore ear, I'm like, oh, when is that doctor's appointment about the grommets, kind of thing. Whereas you don't have much of that follow up.
Not at home, but I do with work. And this was going to you more to the
and that's I think that's the case, is like we said at the beginning, generalizing. So you would have mental load for work 100%. This is more talking about the mental load that ends up in the household.
Does it say anything about how they get to that point? Like, how do they measure that? Okay, so just hearing you say that, I'm like, okay, well, I'll do all those things at work, but why does it not translate to home? Is there anything in there about that?